fantasy films have existed almost as long as cinema, the genre cast a particularly potent spell on the movies of the 1970s and especially the 1980s. Studios needed new horizons for adventure films, and bigger budgets led to awe-inspiring tales of warriors and wizards, magic and dragons. Fans of high fantasy films were awash in epic tales in the last quarter of the 20th century, so strap on your shield and your sandals as the great pop culture debate begins its quest to name the best fantasy film from 1975 to 1999. Like Tom Cruise in Legend, if I'm going into battle, I'm wearing full chainmail up top and booty shorts on the bottom. Skies out, thighs out, even at the apocalypse. I'm your host, Eric Rezsnyak. Please help me welcome my panel of adventurers for this episode. Our first panelist is living his full fantasy. Please welcome our own Moonchild. I know I have this somewhere.
Eric, say my name, please.
There it is. It's Bob Erlenback. But seriously, who was out there in the 60s naming they kid Moonchild? Frank Zappa? Like, what the fuck? Next, he's your favorite pig boy assistant. Welcome back, Kevin Dillon.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
It's perfect. Are you still hanging out at the Black Cauldron, Kevin?
Sure. That's where you find me. Deep in the pot. Deep in the honey pot. Oh, that's a different bar.
And last, we have our final panelist who is back for revenge.
My name is Michael Schwarz. You insulted my picks. Prepare to cry.
And just as real life follows fiction, this princess is going to be a bride next year. Congratulations. Up in the producer booth, we have Curtis Creekmore, ready to banish us to the Labyrinth's oubliette if we go too long on our arguments. If you're curious about how we ended up with this Sorcery 16, become a Patreon supporter of our little show, or listen to the 3-minute preview available wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, you can head to this episode on greatpopculturedebate.com to find the listener bracket as well as the 16 nominated films, so you can play along with us at home. While you're there, check out some of our other related episodes, including Best Lord of the Rings / Hobbit character and Best 80s children's film, all available at greatpopculturedebate.com. And with that out of the way, let's pull the sword from the stone. That is absolutely a euphemism, and let's get into these debates. First up, the panel unanimously voted to move forward 1-seed The NeverEnding Story from 1984, meaning that the curse would not be broken for 4-seed Ladyhawke, also from 1984. But Bob, you wanted to say a few magic words on Ladyhawke.
Yes, so I had never seen Ladyhawke until I had prepared for this podcast, and Eric kept saying to me, "Oh my gosh, Ladyhawke's so great. My mom used to watch it all the time." And now I understand why, having watched it. First of all, it is, to me, barely a fantasy film. It absolutely just takes place in Middle Ages, and there is some magic because these two individuals are cursed. During the day, she is a Ladyhawke, or during the day, she is a hawk. In the evening, she is a woman, and he's a wolf in the evening and a man during the day, I believe is how it goes.
Correct.
And
that's
they are,
accurate.
they're stricken lovers or whatever, and they can never be together because they will always be apart because they are Ladyhawke. Anyway, Ladyhawke. It was interesting to watch it. I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that I'll never watch it again. So, Ladyhawke, see ya.
Yeah, I watched it again for this, and God, it's terrible. But I will say this, Ladyhawke starts so strong. They did not have to go that hard with that opening theme song. It is so good.
Wild.
But there you have it. We're going to move NeverEnding Story into round 2. Next, the panel is evenly split between the animated version of The Hobbit from 1977, a 2-seed, and 1987's multi-genre juggernaut, The Princess Bride, a 3-seed. Bob, tell us why you think The Hobbit is a ringer for round 2. Kevin, tell us a story about why you think The Princess Bride deserves the royal treatment. Kevin, please go first.
Yeah, I am surprised this is not an easier move forward for folks, but maybe it is because in this bracket, it is probably the one that transcends pop culture more than most of these for most people. So I think a lot of the time when you look at this genre, a lot of these are cult favorites, although this was a cult favorite as well. It wasn't a huge box office success. The Princess Bride made $30 million and found home and life on DVD and VHS sales. It's one of the most beautiful, I think, love stories, honestly, I've ever seen. It's a very lovely tale, and Carrie Elways and Robin Wright are the main fantasy characters in a story that a grandfather is telling his grandson. And it's really just that fun little gimmick. Peter Falk is incredible in that role. Like, it's iconic, and with Fred Savage, and like, it's just really a very sweet setup for this story about this really lovely romance. And then you, of course, have a reference to Michael's intro line with the great, great, great Mandy Patinkin in this role that's just truly iconic. And I think what makes this the best film for me is it does transcend that, unlike most of these other movies. And it really is, in a zeitgeist way, the most known of this quantity, which is a great thing. It is also on the Criterion Collection, which is really incredible. So all those little pieces really chip up to this moving forward for me.
Thank you for building up Buttercup, Kevin. Bob, you're going to talk about The Hobbit, and we do want to make it very clear, if you're asking at home, why aren't the Lord of the Rings movies on here? The Lord of the Rings movies came out in the 2000s. They are not on this bracket because we're only looking at 75 to 99, so I'm just making that very clear. Bob, take it away.
I hear everything Kevin says about The Princess Bride, and I understand it is so beloved by so many. It is not a favorite of mine, and this isn't totally a preferential pick for me because I think The Hobbit really fully embodies more of what fantasy films, high fantasy, what we're talking about, really is meant to be. Swords, sorcery, wizards, orcs and goblins and hobbits, etc., right? It immerses us in a world of magic with all of those things, with a tapestry of races and species, etc. It delivers on all those full promise of what high fantasy can be, taking us across fantastical lands with stakes that feel both kind of mythic and deeply personal. It's really fantasy with a capital F, and I do, again, get The Princess Bride, but it really exists in another space. To me, that is a fairy tale, and I believe that it is presented in that way as a fairy tale. There really is no sprawling mythology or epic world building in the way that The Hobbit really offers in that way. It's charming, it's clever, but The Hobbit is fundamental to the genre. And the source material from Tolkien is really the grandfather of all high fantasy, where you don't get Game of Thrones, it's really the template for what we experience in fantasy films going forward. There's also something to be said for the craft of that 1977 animated feature, and it's a Rankin and Bass, who they owned the 60s and the 70s with those truly unique, like animated Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the stop motion. It's clearly made with love and care, and it's beautifully stylized in the animation. So while The Princess Bride may be that cult favorite, I have to cast my vote really for The Hobbit, not because of what it is, but because of what it meant to the fantasy as a genre.
Would you say that it's precious to you?
It is precious, and it's a gateway, I think, to people for fantasy because it is more of the child's tale of that universe. So
yeah, Monique would be throwing a television right at it from upstairs. Yeah, Michael Schwarz, is it going to be The Princess Bride or is it going to be The Hobbit?
Well, it's interesting to hear both of the different arguments on this side for me. Like, I will have to say, like, Tolkien was my entry point into fantasy for me as a reader for us, which led to all of my film obsession with it as well for us too. But I did cast my vote originally for The Princess Bride, and I think I'm going to stay there as well.
I'm sticking with The Hobbit here. I think Kevin really kind of summarized. The Princess Bride does expand beyond fantasy to me. It's so many things. It's a romance. It is kind of a modern day tale as well. Like, this is one of the only ones that has contemporary elements in the fairy tale. But I just rewatched that Hobbit cartoon for the first time in probably 20 plus years, and my God, it is really good. It is the best version of the Hobbit we have on film.
I'd say that's true.
Amen. I will agree with that.
Not a high bar, but
fair.
Just saying.
So if we stick to 2 and 2, The Hobbit is actually the higher seed. It's a 2 seed. And so that means that The Hobbit will be moving forward into round 2. If you thought that The Princess Bride would not go out in round 1, it's inconceivable. That word does not mean what you think it means.
So do all who live to see such times.
Thank you. Next, the panel is evenly split between, to be honest, 2 pretty bad movies. 1-seed Legend from 1985 and 4-seed Masters of the Universe, the live-action version from 1987. Bob, tell us why you think Masters has the cosmic key to advance in our bracket. I will explain why, even with its major flaws, Legend can be now and forever. Bob, please go first.
It is fascinating to me how much these two films actually have in common because they both suffered at the hands of studio meddling. Legend was infamously cut, sliced, chopped, where critical story elements were just boop, poop, gone, right? And Masters of the Universe had its own hurdles, restrictive character portrayals by Mattel. They're like, you can only portray He-Man in a certain way. He can't kill anybody, etc. But despite all
Except for the franchise, sorry.
It's true. But despite all of the flaws, Masters of the Universe, to me, is a film that I absolutely love. It's fascinating fast-paced, it's high energy. It embraces its own absurdity, in my opinion. Maybe that's now looking back on it. Maybe it didn't at the time, but it brings swords and sorcery with a dash of sci-fi tech, which is also true to the source material as well. Species and races, just like I talked about with The Hobbit, like lots of different animals and characters and creatures. Even if most of the action kind of bizarrely takes place on Earth instead of Eternia, I think that was probably a CGI budget issue, right?
Totally.
You're limited to Castle Grayskull, pretty much the soundstage, but what we get is, I think, wildly entertaining. I think that the sci-fi elements add something to this film that others don't on the bracket. Where Legend is dark and brooding, and frankly, I think it's pretty grimy and gross looking. Masters is goofy. It's a goofy little barbarian movie that's fun. It's a joy to watch. It's a blast to make fun of, and it holds up as an enjoyable experience that I think Legend just doesn't do. And yes, Tim Curry delivers on an iconic performance as Darkness in Legend, but Masters of the Universe gives us a young Courtney Cox, pre-Friends, Meg Foster delivering her signature icy glare as Evil Lynn, and Frank Langella as Skeletor eating up the whole fucking set and everyone in it. This man was fucking committed to this role. Holy shit. And he might be problematic now, you betcha, but God, this was good. We also can't gloss over, and this is for Kevin, right? Dolph Lundgren as He-Man, that golden mullet, those impossibly broad shoulders, those muscles bulging. For many, this wasn't just He-Man, it was that sexual awakening. So it also has, I see you, Curtis, wrapping it up. It also has one of the very first post-credit scenes. I'll be back with Skeletor popping up out of the water, before lots of other movies were ever even doing that. And by the way, he wasn't back. So he never came back.
Yeah, I agree. Literally, Bob and I were going to start arguing. It's exactly the same, where these movies have so much in common. He mentions the fact that the villain 100% saves this movie in both cases. Legend has Tim Curry as Darkness, which is incredible. Frank Langella as Skeletor is a fucking riot. However, they also have the fact that their lead actors do the bare minimum to earn a paycheck, and also they're a mess. That's what they both have in common. Both of these movies are messy. So this is an adult fairy tale directed by Ridley Scott, starring Tom Cruise, with Tim Curry as the villain. And when I say that, you think to yourself, oh, this movie is going to be a banger. And it should have been, and it was a fucking disaster. So I will say this. There was also a budget for this movie. Whereas Masters of the Universe looks world cheap, Legend looks every penny of the $25 million budget is on that screen. It is fantasy with a capital F, right? Unfortunately, what is also on screen is a far cry from the initial vision that Scott had for this film, which, as Bob alluded to, was cut and sliced and diced Ron Popeil style, julienne fried to a digestible length for Americans, and what ends up on the screen is just a mess. There are 3 different versions of this movie that exist. The North American version, which is edited to the point where it's almost nonsensical and has a bizarre techno 80s synth soundtrack by Tangerine Dream. The European version has a much more classical score that makes more sense with what's going on. And then there's the director's cut that was released in the 2000s, which adds in about half an hour back to the movie. I did watch it years ago. It was better, but it's still not great. Tom Cruise, who was already a leading man at this point, gives you nothing in this movie. Mia Sara, who is the love interest from Ferris Bueller, is the love interest here. Infuriating until she becomes a bad girl, at which point she's delicious. But Tim fucking Curry is the reason you watch this movie. He is so terrifying in this role with prosthetics and makeup that still look as good 40 years as they did from when they came on screen. Incredible. It is worth it just for that. Michael Schwarz, is it going to be Legend or Masters of the Universe for you?
Well, it's the battle of the 2 dumpster fires here for me. And I honestly, it's Legend, because I cannot watch Masters of the Universe. I cannot. I will use this phrase a couple of times, gay awakening, Dolph Lundgren, I get the whole 9 yards of it for it. But I literally just cannot watch that film. So I'm going to have to go with Legend. And Kevin, I know you got something to say.
You're trash fire people if you do not let Masters in the Universe move forward. Eric, since when are you not cheap? Hello. My God.
I'm cheap. I'm tawdry. I'm all of those things.
Listen, you're right, Frank Langella, but Meg fucking Foster. I'm sorry. That Evil Lynn is delicious.
Sure.
This is the preeminent Batman and Robin. This is so watchable. Christina Pickles, who is playing
Christina Pickles, I forgot.
Christina fucking Pickles as the sorceress. Are you kidding? Man at Arms, Daddy.
No, he is not. Like, literally, that wasn't my thing, Kevin, watching this. I was like, if this was made today, they would get an actual fuckable man to be that man at arms. Not that 80s beef jerky excuse of unflavored ice milk.
Gwildor.
Fuck you with Gwildor. Billy Barty's also in Legend.
My favorite. They've mentioned Billy Barty on the Golden Girls so many times.
He had a big 80s, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. He's in both of these movies with terrible prosthetics. Go on, Kevin.
Masters of the Universe is just great. I'm sorry. I could watch that movie on repeat. Was watching it on repeat as a kid.
Masters of the Universe is a 4 seed, and Legend is a 1 seed, which is a mistake.
Very much a mistake.
So we will be moving Legend into round 2. Don't get worried. It doesn't have much of a future. Next, it's another unanimous decision from our panel, which has moved by the dance music of 2-seed Labyrinth from 1986, meaning that 3-seed The Last Unicorn from 1982 has gone extinct in our debate. Next 3/4 of the panel is mad, like Mardigan, about 1-seed Willow from 1988, but Michael is a friend to animals and to 4-seed Beastmaster from 1982. Michael, is that a couple of ferrets in our pouch, or are you just happy to see me? Kevin, tell us why you won't bend in your support for Willow. Michael, please go first.
I honestly put this on my bracket just so it would get a mention. I had no intention that this was actually going to move forward at all. I mean, I talk about this in the recording that we did and everything. This was definitely a gay awakening moment for me with Mark Singer in this role, kind of stuff. It's not a bad film. It's actually kind of good. I really enjoy it. It's got a great storyline. It's very a Moses story. Get rid of the kid. Somebody else finds him, raises him, comes back and takes out the evil king kind of moment. But I think that it really is good. And yes, the ferrets really should have gotten a nom for best supporting actor in a film during Oscars for that one for you. I really enjoyed it. And growing up, I was lucky enough to have HBO once in a while. There was this overwhelming joke sometimes that HBO actually stood was, "Hey, Beastmaster's on." Because
so true.
It was shown so many times on HBO in the early days of this and everything like that. But I've watched this film so many times over the years, and it was nice to have a rewatch, having not seen it in a while. It's not the best, and I know it's not going to stand up against Willow, but I definitely wanted to give it at least a moment in the sun.
I'm glad you did, and I'm glad we talked about it. By the way, there were at least 3 Beastmaster movies made. These were successful, and they were syndicated within an inch of their life. My God, they were constantly on TV. Kevin, this is a 3-1, so I might have you save your Willow argument. Bob, are you still with Willow here?
Oh, I'll still be with Willow. I cannot stand Beastmaster.
Okay, good to know.
Wooden acting doesn't begin to describe.
Yeah, Mark Singer was not cast for his dramatic chops. Let's talk about that.
His body was incredible in it. I'll say that.
For sure. Kevin, are you sticking with Willow here?
Yeah, I agree with Bob. Not a movie for me. So I'll stick with Willow.
I will make one small comment before we move on. You were mentioning that Beastmaster is a Moses story. Literally, so is Willow. It is a baby that is put on into a basket of reeds, and she goes on to kill the evil queen. It's like the exact same story. That was so many of the stories for these. Anyway, we're moving Willow into round 2. Next, the bulk of the panel is stirring the pot and wants to keep Disney's 1985 animated tale, The Black Cauldron, a 3-seed, bubbling into round 2. But I will go on a rampage if 2-seed Conan the Destroyer from 1984 doesn't hack its way to the Elite 8. I will leave no crumbs as I make my argument in defense of Conan. Michael, tell us why, like the bad guy in the film, Cauldron still has you horned up. I'm going to go first. I'm probably going to lose this. I'm at peace with that. But you guys, Conan the Destroyer is a riot of a movie. This is a very by-the-book swords and sandals type movie set in a fantasy world, and it achieves everything it sets out to do really well. There are great set pieces, some decent fight sequences, some incredibly imaginative enemies, the Mist Dragon, the Wizard in the Mirror Hall, the increasingly horrifying Elder God at the end, and a cast that is having so much fun. Arnold Schwarzenegger is genuinely great in this movie. His acting is surprisingly good, and he gets to have a few funny comedic moments too. But ultimately, Conan needs to be imposing and know how to use a sword. Arnold was a brick shithouse in this movie. Those biceps, those succulent thighs, and he displays some impressive sword flourishes too. The supporting cast is also top-notch, with Grace Jones in full Grace Jones mode, and basketball player and notorious man whore Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain offering a surprisingly great foil for Conan as the movie goes on. Also, Conan just flat out friend-zoning the princess at the end of the movie. Hysterical. Denied, honey. I appreciate that Black Cauldron is a special film. I think it's beautiful. I think the villain is, again, S tier. But I think that the film is something of a chore to watch for the bulk of it, whereas I could watch Conan the Destroyer over and over again and never get bored. Not because of the biceps, but also because of the biceps. Bobby's sticking with Black Cauldron here.
I will stick with Black Cauldron. As much as we can talk about this property, I will always take the opportunity to talk about Black Cauldron. So let's push it forward so we can talk more. But it's a forgotten property and it's great. So let's keep going.
Michael, is it going to be Black Cauldron or Conan?
Oh, I was going to speak to Black Cauldron anyway, so I'm not giving that up.
Kevin, is it going to be Black Cauldron or Conan?
This pig boy assistant is still with the Black Cauldron.
By crumb. All right, Conan is out, and Black Cauldron will move into round 2. Next, the majority of the panel wants to release the Kraken and watch 1C Clash of the Titans, the 1981 original, surge into round 2, but Kevin is ready to use his boomstick to push for 4-seed Army of Darkness from 1992. Bob, make like the Fates and make it so that Titans has a future in this bracket. Kevin, try not to show your ash as you stomp for Army of Darkness. Kevin, please go first.
I realize I might be on the outs with this one, but this is my preferred pick in this round. I do not love all the Ash movies. In fact, Ash vs. Evil Dead is not really necessarily my cup of tea, but I do love a Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell collaboration, and I really love the way they play with the fantasy genre, blending in those key horror elements. And again, this is probably why I'm rooting for the films that are a little bit more genre expansive. It kind of blends into my own sensibility, so I will recognize that bias. But this movie is fucking dumb and hilarious. I love every second of this. Bruce Campbell's I think one of his best performances, because it is genuinely incredible, funny. We get rid of Bridget Fonda really early. Thank God. She's terrible. Oh my God. How do you leave a Quentin Tarantino movie never to work again? My
Drag
God.
her, ruin her life.
She's awful. But the young Embeth Davidtz comes and swoops in, and she is such a bitch. She's so fucking crazy, and she's incredible. Embeth Davidtz is one of those underrepresented actresses. The show has skeletal armies and is incredibly quotable. You ain't leading but 2 things right now: Jack and shit, and Jack left town. I was cackling listening to that line. But this movie is just very fun, very good play on fantasy, very genre evolving, and so I really appreciate it, and understand, though, if you all might not want to move it forward.
So this is a 3-1. I want to ask, Michael, are you sticking with Clash of the Titans?
Yes, I am.
Bob, you sticking with Clash of the Titans?
The bust of Maggie Smith laying on the ground reading everyone for filth. I'm sticking with Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, you want to talk about Embeth Davis being a bitch? Maggie Smith is such a cunt in this movie that she's just oh, my terrible son killed all of your whatever animal, so you turned him into a monster. Now I'm going to destroy an entire city. That is the type of petty that I live for in my fantasy epics.
Amen.
So we will be moving Clash of the Titans into round 2. Finally, in round 1, it's one last unanimous call by the panel as 2-seed The Dark Crystal from 1982 will follow The Three Sons into round 2, meaning that 3-seed Excalibur from 1981 has been returned to the Lady of the Lake. But I do want to speak briefly on Excalibur. I'd never seen this movie prior to doing my research for this. I'd always been curious about it. It was arguably the first prestige fantasy film, a retelling of the King Arthur and Camelot legend by John Borman. It won an Academy Award for cinematography and a BAFTA for costume design. It's, alas, not very good. While it may have been visually impressive in 1981, it is significantly less so on modern home video, and the battle sequences border on pathetic. It's been a while since I revisited the Arthurian legend, but I feel like it sticks more or less closely to it. Unfortunately, those characters are all lunatics. The acting is all over the place. The actor playing Merlin is hamming it up like he's in a British panto. The drip they have playing Arthur is not only bland, but unfuckable. And Stewart and Neeson just disappear from the movie. Thank God for Helen Mirren, who understood the assignment, showed her tits, and turns in a star-making role. God bless her. Doesn't matter. We're still going to move The Dark Crystal into round 2. And that's it for round 1, folks. We're going to take a quick break to turn into an amnesiac bird like Michelle Pfeiffer. Anything to avoid Rutger Hauer. We'll be right back.
Craving some seriously passionate pop culture debates? Need your fix of hot takes and hilarious arguments? Then you absolutely have to check out the Great Pop Culture Debate on YouTube. We're talking everything from superhero showdowns to the most controversial cartoon theme songs. No pop culture stone is left unturned. Our YouTube channel includes content not found anywhere else, including series-specific reviews, fantasy casting, and more. Find us on YouTube, The Great Pop Culture Debate, because some debates, well, they just need to be settled.
And we are back for round 2 of our best fantasy film of 1975 to 1999 debate. Before we get into the Elite 8, I want our panelists to share their social media and what else they're working on. Bob, I'm going to start with you.
You can find me at DisNerdBob on Blue Sky is primarily where I am. I am also on Instagram, but I don't interact a ton. But what am I working on? I'm working on this podcast, doing some editing for this podcast, trying to make this podcast the best it is. And I hope you all enjoy it. Please join our Patreon, where you can interact with us on Discord, which is where you will see me a lot. And almost everybody on this panel, including Curtis, our producer, you will see on there a lot. So
very true. Thank you very much. Kevin Dillon, where can people find you? What are you working on?
You can still find me on that terrible app because I don't know how to quit you. That would be Twitter, at ET Kevin's Mind. What am I working on? Just like supporting and jumping in on panel stuff with you all as much as I possibly can. And enjoying summer movies. That's what I'm working on. There's a lot of fun ones.
Indeed there is. Thank you very much. Michael, welcome back, darling. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
Where can people find you? What are you working on?
Sure. So I'm on pretty much on Instagram. I should get on Blue Sky one of these days, but I'm Therax, Therax, 329 on Instagram for you. And I continue to work on the two love of my lives, this podcast and my Survivor. I'm continue to be an executive producer of the Survivor Brooklyn South live reality game series for us. We have a game coming up in September. So check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and watch a group of 18 players go at it in Marine Park, Brooklyn this September.
I saw a movie like that on Pornhub once. It was pretty captivating.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Excellent. Welcome back. You can find us on Blue Sky at gpcd.bsky.social or at Great Pop Culture Debate on Instagram or TikTok. You should also make sure to subscribe to our page on YouTube where we're posting original video content. What you really need to do right now, literally this very minute, is sign up for our weekly newsletter. It's out new every Tuesday at noon. It tells you about what's coming up in pop culture that week. Sign up by finding the link on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or via our link tree on any of our social media accounts. Now, let's get into round 2 so we can check out the Southern Oracle. What a rack on that one. My God. Like, they did not have to make those breasts so large in a children's film.
And the nipples.
And the nipples.
You can't even see a nipple.
And he's really trying.
And he is really trying.
First up, it looks like a unanimous victory for 1C The NeverEnding Story, which means we'll stop dragging the heart of 2C The Hobbit around. Next, I believe it's a unanimous decision by the panel to continue to follow 2C Labyrinth into round 2, meaning that the fantasy has officially ended for beleaguered 1-seed Legend. And it may be another unanimous decision, as 1-seed Willow looks to have put a lid on the chances of 3-seed The Black Cauldron. But Michael, you wanted to speak on The Black Cauldron.
Absolutely. I would love to. So as a Disney adult, a lot of my favorite films from Disney are actually from the 70s and 80s for us. I consider it one of Disney's darker periods for films for you. I love The Black Cauldron, The Rescuers, those kind of things where it's a little bit more not so child friendly if you really pay attention to what's going on there for us. And The Black Cauldron was a commercial flop. It was the most expensive animated film at the time. We're spending over $40 million to produce it, and it made a whopping $20 million in the theaters for us. Disney actually held it back until like 97 when they started releasing everything on VHS for you. But it's a great film. I think that it's not what people think of a lot of times when they think of Disney. It's not in their top 50 films for Disney and anything, but it's still got a great story for you. It's based on Welsh mythology for the most part, and you have the Horned King as your villain in this case for us. And it is a really lovely film. for people to get the chance. No, I do not think that it really stands up against Willow in the case, but I think it's something that people miss. And if you want to expand your Disney knowledge, please take a moment to go back and look at the Black Cauldron and some of the other films that came around at the time. Even not the animated stuff that Disney was doing at the time too. It's definitely their darker period, a little bit more realistic than fantastical that you traditionally get with Disney films.
Yeah, he did a great job. We watched it last night on Disney Plus, and I'd seen it before, but like literally, there's whole sequences with rooms full of corpses that are brought back to life, and I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, a children's film. Finally, in round 2, the panel is evenly split between 2 technically ambitious early 80s films. 1 seed Clash of the Titans and 2 seed The Dark Crystal. Michael, tell us why you're still a puppet for The Dark Crystal. Bob, please take a page from Goddess Maggie Smith's disembodied head and read us all to filth and call forward destruction in defense of Clash of the Titans. Michael, please go first.
Fantastic. Thank you. Gay Awakening, yes, Clash of the Titans makes Harry Hamlin, and that just brings my thing. But the Dark Crystal, I think that when you talk about the fact that we're looking at high fantasy films, this is that pinnacle of it. This is a Henson masterpiece of filmmaking. It's the dichotomy of the two races that we have. We have the crystal, we have the gelflings, everything in this. I'm lucky enough to live a couple of blocks from Kaufman Astoria Studios, where the Museum of the Moving Image is located, and they have a Henson exhibit there that includes a lot of the pieces that came from the Dark Crystal, and getting to see those up close and the detail work that in there. Not to mention, it is just a fantastic story. Now, they did do it a disservice by trying to make a sequel series out of this, which was trash comparatively to the original film. It's one of the properties that really doesn't need to be touched or redone. It just needs to be re-released. We're coming up on 40 years of this. We should have a Fathom Events 40th anniversary of The Dark Crystal in the theaters. Eric, you and I and the rest of us can go like we did to see Steel Magnolias and have a fabulous time of it with it all. But this is really not just the storytelling, but the costuming and the set design and that high fantasy component that you get in this film puts everything else to shame. And I do love Clash of the Titans, the original, never the remake on that one for us. Never the remake of that for you. That Clockwork Owl and Clash of the Titans, I wanted my own version of that. But
it's so cool.
When you put them side by side, Clash of the Titans and the Dark Crystal, the Clash of the Titans looks like a cheap knockoff version of a film.
Listen, let's just say this before I let Bob go in. Clash of the Titans does look like dog shit. It just does. Like, there are certain scenes in that movie where it's like 5 pixels up on the screen. It was not made for high definition, but there are also parts of that movie that look incredible to this day, specifically the Ray Harryhausen stop animation. But I'm taking Bob's job. Bob, please talk to us about Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, we talked about Jim Henson, or Michael just talked about Jim Henson and the puppetry and all of those things and being an achievement in that way. We haven't talked about Harryhausen on this podcast probably ever, right? And Ray Harryhausen was really the pioneer of this stop motion composite special effects, etc. And yes, there are certain parts of Clash of the Titans that are 100% crunchy today, but the composite technology at the time wasn't where it could have been or should have been to keep up with what Ray Harryhausen was doing and wanted to do, right? And it is really incredible what they did at the time with all of that, with all of the different creatures, the Kraken, everything that they created in this film is just so interesting to watch and so much fun. I do agree, obviously, there is the more fantasy elements of the Dark Crystal. Where the Dark Crystal falls down for me is I don't have a gateway into that movie. There are no humans, and I know that seems like a really weird thing to say, but I want to be taken on the fantasy when I watch these films, and I can't find a gateway with that movie. They're just the weird gelflings, they're odd looking, and I just don't identify with that to be able to bring me along for the ride. I think, again, Clash of the Titans has a great cast. Maggie Smith, Burgess Meredith. My husband, Harry Hamlin, is in it. And Eric would probably say he's looking great. I'm fine. I'm not a big Harry Hamlin fan, but I'm sure Eric's like, he's looking fine. The owl that Michael brings up, incredible. It's just so ambitious. It is a celebration of the myth, the Greek mythology on this really grand scale. It's a love letter to the genre by this true pioneer with this stop stop motion and these visuals that they have done. So I just think that it's I'll just leave it there. I just think that it's a lot of fun and a really incredible achievement for the time.
Thank you. Kevin, is it Dark Crystal or is it Clash of the Titans for you?
Well, first, I want to address something. I thought Michael was saying he had a gay awakening to the Dark Crystal, and I was like, oh, okay.
They don't call them Skeksis for nothing. More like sexies.
No judgment, but...
No, 100% judgment.
And so I was like, oh, okay, thank God he said Clash of the Titans. Okay, got it. Okay.
I think they create a topical ointment for Skeksis. I'm not sure. I'm asking for a friend.
May cause blindness.
I will agree with Bob on this. I had never seen The Dark Crystal, and I will say this. I've been quoted as a not Muppets or a hating Muppets person on this podcast. I do not. In fact, Muppets Take Manhattan is probably one of my favorite movie musicals of all time. We just have a Muppet super fan group on this podcast, and I was thinking, oh no, I'm going to have to fight against Dark Crystal because I think it's so impenetrable and I didn't like it. But thankfully, I think I have some Clash of the Titans for me. It's just, Dark Crystal was hard to get into for a first-time watcher as an adult.
Kate Recollia, part of our podcast, huge Dark Crystal super fan. She will ride or die for that movie. I had not seen it until I was an adult, and much like both Kevin and Bob, I admire the technical achievement in this movie.
100%.
It is incredible what Jim Henson does in it in numerous scenes. There were times where I felt like it was an exhibition of his skill more than a film with a story, but it is, I mean, the highest of high fantasies, right? It is really, really very inventive, very creative. But I agree, the term that came to me was there's an accessibility issue with the Dark Crystal where for general audiences, I just don't know if they're going to find anything to hook into. That being said, it is 3-1, and I'm going to go with Clash of the Titans. We have our final four. We're going to take a quick break to summon an elder god who will surely be our friend and not attempt to annihilate us. We'll be right back.
Want even more great pop culture debate in your life? We're talking behind-the-scenes shenanigans, hot takes fresh off the press, and all the pop culture goodness you can handle? Then you absolutely must follow us on social media. Get your daily dose of debates, polls, and hilarious commentary on all the latest trends. We're on Instagram and TikTok at Great Pop Culture Debate, and we've joined the Blue Sky Revolution at gpcd.bsky.social for even more in-depth discussions. So, whether you're team hashtag pineapple on pizza or team hashtag Die Hard is a Christmas movie, join the conversation. Follow the Great Pop Culture Debate on Instagram and Blue Sky and TikTok and all our other socials too, because the debate never sleeps.
And we are back with the final four of our best fantasy film of 1975 to 1999 debate. At this point in the show, I like to take a step back and see if it shook out the way I expected it to. So, we have The NeverEnding Story, a 1 seed, versus Labyrinth, a 2 seed, and Willow, a 1 seed, versus Clash of the Titans, also a 1 seed. I would like to go around the horn here, and I'm going to start with Bob. NeverEnding Story versus Labyrinth, where are you going here? I think this might have been in the final four of our best 80s kids film movie.
That's
I think it broke several people, but where are you going on this one?
I'm choosing The NeverEnding Story, and you just let me know when we're ready to talk about it.
Okay. Kevin Dillon, is it going to be NeverEnding Story or Labyrinth?
I like both of these a lot. A lot. I think they're both really good. Honestly, could be a final two matchup, personally, for me. I'm going to give the edge to The NeverEnding Story because Jennifer Connelly is really annoying in the first 45 minutes.
Super annoying.
Of Labyrinth. Like, oh boy. And she plays someone she's allegedly 16, but acts 10 or 12. It's almost like she's supposed to be Dorothy's age, and she can't play a little girl like Judy Garland could. Anyway, I'm voting for The NeverEnding Story.
Yeah, I mean, real talk, I wanted the Goblin King to keep her in the underground. I was like,
David Bowie, he's so good.
It's like, you're terrible, Muriel. Michael, is it going to be NeverEnding Story or Labyrinth for you?
Well, in this case, I'm going to go with NeverEnding Story because I'm still working through all of my trauma issues with Artax and the Swamp of Sadness. I still deal with that to this day.
I love both of these movies. This is a final two for me. I'm going to throw a vote to Labyrinth. A, because I don't want it to go out unanimously, and B, because we haven't even fucking talked about it yet. So Labyrinth is an incredibly special film. It is both live action and it is puppetry. I'm sorry to bring this up again, Michael. I know the wound is still fresh, but it is Jen Henson doing incredible work in this film with the puppets. I know we have the puppetry kind of affiliation or affinity on this podcast, and that is not necessarily a selling point for this movie. But what is a selling point is A, it's a musical, and actually the music is really good in it, and B, David fucking Bowie, ladies and gentlemen, serving you high glam, high cunt as the Goblin Prince. He is out there with his gigantic wang, not at all restrained, flopping around in his pants, stealing babies, tormenting teenage women. What a life icon.
He
right?
defined visible panty line.
He should be a part of the Trump administration with this resume. That's what I have to say. It is a beautifully imaginative film, and I just love everything about it. But at the same time, we're talking about best fantasy film. The NeverEnding Story is a fucking fantasy film, right? So we will be moving that into the final two. Next, it's Willow versus Clash of the Titans. I'm going to start from the back of the pack. Michael, I have a guess where you're going here.
I don't give a shit at either of these two movies, honestly. This is not how my side of the bracket turned out for it in the end at all. But I'm going to go Willow on this one.
All right. Kevin, is it going to be Willow or Clash of the Titans for you?
I don't want a big pill. I want a Willow pill. I had to. It's Willow. We haven't really talked about
Willow. We haven't talked about it, so by all means, please do so.
I think this is a movie that, like, I know at the beginning I kind of said maybe, like, I showed my cards and said this isn't my genre, but this is a movie I remember watching as a kid, and I don't know why this one. Maybe it was just on TV a lot, or it came on rotation on like TBS or TNT or something. But I was always hooked by this movie. I love Val Kilmer in this movie. He's doing like a really nuanced version of what Johnny Depp thinks he's doing in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep.
And like, it's charming, and it's because Val Kilmer, underappreciated man that he was a truly gifted, trained actor who never really got to lift in the way he did. And he actually gets to do that here. Jean Marsh as the Wicked Queen is delicious.
Delicious.
I love her. I know her from an episode of Murder, She Wrote, where Jessica thinks she's sleeping with her houseboy, but it's her son, and it's a murder in England. We love a Murder, She Wrote guest star in these movies. But no, Willow is just a beautiful, like, very simple story. There's fairies. There's a young thing. Oh my God, a young thing. What is his name? I can't think of the actor.
Warwick Davis?
Warwick Davis. Thank you. Warwick Davis. Trying to become a wizard also and getting powers, while also like trying to like prove himself to his people and really make way through this journey. And just a beautiful, true, like fantasy epic adventure. Like probably the most, I guess, not generic. That's the wrong word I'm looking for. Probably the most paint by numbers in some ways in this group, but yet still beautiful and lovely.
Thank you. Bob, is it going to be Willow or Clash of the Titans for you?
I'm actually going to throw one to Willow in this pair up because I think it starts to outclass the actual fantasy elements over. It outclashes Clash a little bit, so I'm going with Willow.
Once again, I will throw a vote to Clash of the Titans just so it doesn't go out unanimously. Bob alluded to this, but yes, Harry Hamlin is hot as fuck in this movie. This was a sexual awakening. We haven't talked about Zeus in this film, who is played by Sir Laurence Olivier, and who is such a shit. I love it. It's also like a dead, like textbook version of what Zeus was actually like portrayed as. He's not a very nice person. I think it's a fun cast. I think it's a fun movie. It's a great adventure fantasy film. But do I think it should win against Willow? No, I don't. I think Willow is the correct person in the final two here. So we have a final two of The NeverEnding Story versus Willow. I would like to start in the middle with my friend Kevin Dillon. Where are you going to go?
I know I just argued a lot for Willow, but I am going to go with NeverEnding Story. it is the movie that I know has the bigger legacy, and I want to let those who are more passionate talk about it. But it also has that moment in Stranger Things that many people love with them singing to each other that as like a love ballad to one another, which is super cute. So I'm going with NeverEnding Story, but I want to leave it to someone else to talk about it.
Michael, is it NeverEnding Story or Willow for you?
Oh, it's without a doubt NeverEnding Story in this case for me.
Bob, is it NeverEnding Story or is it Willow?
Can I talk about it now? Is it
please.
time to talk about it?
I barely talked about her.
I am voting for the NeverEnding Story, and if you listen to this podcast, you know that I would. This is a movie that doesn't just show you the fantasy world, it transports you into it. Just from the very beginning, we're introduced to Bastian. He's the young boy. He's grappling with everything that we can identify with from adolescence. Bullying, loneliness, the challenge of growing up. His mother has just passed away. That emotional grounding gives us that immediate connection to him, and we are Bastian in this scenario. We read the book with him. We experience the fantasy with him. That bond becomes the viewer's ticket into that story, and it makes the journey very personal for us as well. And the film checks every box that really I look for in fantasy: rich and strange new worlds, powerful magic, unforgettable creatures, including one of the most iconic of all time. We have not discussed Falkor, the Luck Dragon, which is such a unique and interesting twist on the dragon for this film.
Leanne Rimes, I love your work.
It is so good. And it's not afraid to go big. It is weird. It's even dark at times. Lots of times it's dark. And it's the darkness, I think, that elevates this. It is a movie for kids, but it challenges them and it trusts that young audience to handle those complex themes with grief, identity, self-worth, the existential danger, the nothingness. Everything will be gone. The Swamps of Sadness scene, we talked about it already. Hello, we are all traumatized by the death of Artax in that scene. This is the kind of emotional gut punch you'd expect from something like The Lord of the Rings, and we're giving it to kids. And we're saying, you can handle this, and this is what you can learn from and how to deal with some of these themes. And I think that's really important. It dares to go there. And really, I won't talk about the song. Kevin talked about the vibe that is the Lamal song, The NeverEnding Story. Please listen to it on if you have not. You know, I think it's just that great fantasy that is the gateway to the genre. It's beloved by kids and adults. So rich in imagination. It's unafraid to be emotionally resonant. It's intellectually ambitious. For all these reasons, I think it stands above really a lot of the other films, but it really has such a legacy as a great fantasy cinema film. And I think Willow is wonderful, but it didn't do what this movie did, and it is loved by a very small section or a niche population. Willow is. But I think that the NeverEnding Story just takes us there.
You took me there. I do want to push back on a couple things. Number one, I do need to talk about the Lamal song, because if you have not gotten fucked up at the Provincetown tea dance and twirled with your nipples out in a caftan to Lamal's NeverEnding Story, I'm asking myself, have you lived? Have you lived? That's my question. Number two, I do want to give Willow its flowers for one thing that we haven't really talked about. In many of these films, women and female characters are kind of pushed to the side and are...
This is all great points.
Yeah, they're just kind of like they're window dressing, they're the romantic interests. In Willow, the women are actually pretty centered in the movie, and even more so in the Gone But Not Forgotten Willow spin-off series from Disney Plus, which is completely erased from the internet thanks to Disney Plus, but had its problems, don't get me wrong, but had some really solid elements to it, and I'm very sad that it got one season and was basically banished. I agree with everything that has been said about NeverEnding Story. I was this time viewing it, and I've seen it I don't know how many times, before I realized how meta that movie gets, to a point where at the end, the childlike empress is saying, just as Bastian is reading us in the book right now, there are people watching Bastian right now. And that's referring to the viewers of the movie. I had somehow never gotten that before this time. It is very European in a lot of ways, which I think Legend was also trying to do and didn't quite succeed.
Wolfgang Petersen.
But it's such a good fantasy film. It is about what makes fantasy special. And I agree with everything else. I also just showed this to a bunch of millennials who had never seen it. They were fascinated. They found the most minute things so incredible. The cloud effects that come in with the nothingness, they're like, how did they do this? Because they made it clear there were no digital effects for this movie. It was all practical. And they were like, how did they do that? And I was like, it was oil in water and different colorings. And they're just like, this movie's incredible. The wolf, whose name escapes me currently, I can't think of his name. Absolutely terrifying in this movie. I love all of it. So there you have it, folks. Our pick for the best fantasy film of 1975 to 1999 is The NeverEnding Story. Do you agree? Do you think we should be transformed into a bunch of toads? Tell us how you really feel by leaving a comment on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or find us on Blue Sky or Instagram. While you're there, make sure you subscribe and follow the podcast so you can hear about what new debates are coming soon, vote in open polls, and even decide which topics we tackle next. I want to say thank you to my panel. You are all heroes in my book. And thank you for listening. If you loved what you heard, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get even more exclusive content and you get episodes a whole day early. We hope you have a good one, and remember, everyone is entitled to their wrong opinion. Now, let's go steal a baby to give to the Goblin King.